The bill that Republican House Speaker Jason Stephens considers his top priority, House Bill 1, is starting to move through the legislature. The bill seeks to rewrite the tax system in Ohio through two parts: a flat income tax and property tax changes. The flat tax part is pretty straightforward, reducing all four income brackets that pay the state income tax to 2.75%. People making under $26,050 would still pay no income tax. The property tax elements are more complicated. House Bill 1 would eliminate the state's 10% property tax rollback, reduce the percentage that determines homeowners' property taxes on the appraised value of their homes from 35% to 31.5%, increase the homestead exemption for seniors, and replace the 2.5% rollback for Ohioans who live in the homes they own with a $125 flat rate. As if all that's not complex enough, there's a measure of price inflation or deflation in the bill called a GDP deflator that could reduce the property value assessment percentage to 27.9% in 6 years. And there's also House Bill 920, which was designed to keep inflation from increasing taxes on previously approved levies. The bill has support from the Ohio chapters of Americans for Tax Reform and Americans for Prosperity and the Ohio Manufactured Homes Association. But to critics, the bill appears to use the property tax changes to pay for the income tax cut. I talked with economist Howard Fleeter, who is the leading authority on funding for the state's more than 600 traditional public school districts.
When the dust clears on this, you're getting not only a decrease in school and local government revenues of over $500 million, but you're also getting a $929 million tax increase for farmers and homeowners.
And that brings me to my next question. The effect is different on business and commercial property owners and their property taxes.
Right. And so that is also something which I don't think the framers of this bill intended to have happen, right? When I think their idea was, we eliminated the 10% rollback for homeowners, so we want to reduce the value of their property. What they didn't understand was that the way, that Ohio property tax law mandates that the assessment percentage be the same on residential and agricultural property as it is on business and commercial property. So even though I think they probably wanted to leave the business and commercial property taxpayers out of this, they have to lower their assessment percentage as well. And so that results in a $157 million decrease for those property taxpayers, which is part of that over $500 million reduction in state and local tax revenues.
I asked Speaker Jason Stephens, this is House Bill 1, so it's a priority bill for him, whether this could mean that schools might have to put more levies before voters. And he said, not necessarily it could, but obviously communities could decide to put levies on the ballot if they want more services or different services. But school levies are not a sure bet for school districts.
No, I think schools and local governments are going to find themselves between a rock and a hard place on this issue, right? Because they're not only losing, $538 million is the LSC estimate. $298 million of that is for schools, and the rest of it, about $240 million, is for the other local governments. They're going to lose those revenues. It's going to compromise their services. I think their first choice would be to try to go to the voters and recoup that revenue so they can continue delivering services at the same level they are right now. That's going to be a very tough hill for them to climb, though, for two reasons. The first is these same voters that they're going to be asking to approve new levies are just received a $929 million unvoted tax increase as a result of this plan. That's not going to put most people in a very favorable mood when they're given the chance to vote their taxes even higher. And the second thing is that for school levies, I track those, and since 2014, the passage rate for new school levies is only 30%. So 20 years ago, the passage rate for new school levies was 70%, and it has been declining very steadily. And school districts complain all the time about levy fatigue. One of the ramifications of House Bill 920 that stabilizes revenues, from the homeowner's perspective, is that it also doesn't allow growth from inflation for schools and local governments, we go to the ballot more often than any other state in this country as a result of having the most stringent property tax limitation. So, there's three challenges if local governments are going to want to try to recoup that more than $500 million in lost local revenue, right? Because one, we already vote a lot. Two, your people you're asking to vote for more levies just would have gotten a very, very large tax increase. And three, the inclination to pass new levies has not been very high in this state. Renewal levies pass 85 to 90% of the time, but asking for new money has gotten a lot harder in the last 10 years.
You've been doing this analysis and in this area of property taxes, income taxes, and school finance forever. You are the expert on school finance in the state of Ohio. What do you think in terms of the complexity and the potential impact of this bill?
I've been doing this since 1990 for over 30 years. This is by far the most complicated piece of legislation I've seen as far as it affects state and local government. And it is also, I think, maybe the most concerning piece of legislation I've seen as well. I think, my school and local government clients, I think, are viewing this as a 5-alarm fire right now. And, I'm trying to figure out, because I think many of us were surprised to see the property tax features of this bill. And I think there's been a lot of clues that the income tax was going to be changed and that they were going to move in the direction of a flat tax. That was not that big a surprise. But to me, the property tax changes were out of the blue. And I don't know if that was, just because saving $1.3 billion in state payments helps them fund their property tax decrease, or if this is also, in some sense, a property tax revolt, or if it's both. And so I'd like to get some clarity on what the goals and objectives are as far as what they're trying to do.